that a settlement occupies on land. That is it there, our site. And then we ask ourselves, grade 12. Now, how can we make it easy for us to understand this? I know this content is with you. You understand this content. Now, when we are talking about the exact place, now we are talking about an area, grade 12, where your house is found. It's a site. Where your school is found, it's a site. And then that is why we say exact piece of land that occupied by a settlement. And then we come to the factors that affect the choice of site. Why do people choose to be situated there? These are the reasons. Because of the supply of water, fertile land, grazing, forest for building materials, and fuel. Now, also, they look at minerals, whether they are available, the minerals are available there. And then, those are the factors that affect site. Now, let's look at, now, the phrase situation, grade 12, is what? The position of a settlement in relation to the wider surroundings. For example, now you are looking at what surrounds your house, what surrounds your settlement, what surrounds your school. Now, if I start saying that next to my school there is a big supermarket, there is this, there is a police station, there is a clinic. Now I'm defining, or I'm giving you the situation of my settlement. So now that is why we say it is a position, or it's a position of settlement in relation to the wider surrounding, such as other settlement. It is next to Silverton, it is next to Archville, it is next to, so it is up to what, grade 12? It's up to what is surrounding our what? Our settlements. Now, the factors that affect the choice of situation will be above the flood line. Our settlement, is it above the flood line, so that we don't experience damage that will be caused by floods? Then warm north facing slope in southern Africa, warm thermal belt or mid slope, and the near transport road and accessibility. Actually, there are extra ones that you can include the grade 12s, but now we have given you a few then. It is very important that when you go into an examination room tomorrow, grade 12, on Tuesday, I mean, you know the difference between site and situation. Now, grade 12, without you understanding these, you will have a challenge, because these are the basics. Now, we come to what are the types of sites? What are the types of sites? Now, when we talk about the types of sites, grade 12, we are talking about the dry point, the wet point, and the defense. So when we talk about the dry point, I know it's sometimes confusing for you, grade 12, then this, but I'm going to try by all means to make it as simple as I can. Now, take this in this regard, grade 12. A dry point settlement, it will be that settlement that is found in a wet area. So people in that area decide to build their houses away from the water source, because they're afraid for things like floods, because water is available. So they decide to build their houses far away from the rivers to avoid this such natural disaster. I want you to look at my alphabet A there that I've drawn into this diagram with the blue there. Let's say I place my settlement there. It is far from what? From the river there. So it's going to be a dry point, because the water is available. So I'm placing my settlements far from its water source, because water is available. And since water is available, that simply means that there is so much rain that can lead into what, grade 12? There's so much rain that can lead into our rivers, being rejuvenated, our rivers getting more water, and those rivers end up flooding and then they destroy houses. But if I build my settlement close to a water source, what am I doing is because there is a competition for this resource. There is a competition for this resource, so we are going to build our houses near a water source. So once a settlement grade 12 is near a water source, it is a wet point settlement. But when it's far from a water source, it is a dry point. I guess that is where we should start by saying a wet point settlement or a wet point site will be that site that is that settlement that is built or developed near a water source due to the constraints and shortage of water. And then a dry point will be built on a dry place, but away from a water source. Actually, it is built away from the water source. So you must be able to differentiate, especially these two, especially the dry point and the wet point. Now, I guess all learners here, we have our survival kit. If you don't have a survival kit, there is a number written below my screen there, a WhatsApp number that I'm waiting to get questions from. If you have a question, please send it there so that I can deal with it. We are also going to look at just a few questions from the question paper of 2016 in June, just to get an idea of what we are talking about. Now, let's continue. Then we have a defense site. This is in our olden days. Now, a defense site, if I decide to build my house on top if I decide to build my house there, now I am building my house there in a high lying area. It can be a hill or whatsoever. But in a high lying area, it makes me to be able to see whatever that goes on down there. So that I can see when enemies attack. Then I will be ready. I always make an example of this grade 12 by the Lion King, where Simba and the other lions stay. They stay on a hill there, on top there, and then they're able to see the hyenas. So they're able to see the hyenas when they are approaching so that they can gear up our defense side will be that one that is on a high ground. Our defense is on a high ground. Why is it on the high ground? It is because they want to see what grade 12. They want to see the enemies when they are attacking. So those are the types of site. Do not confuse the types of site and the types of settlement. Now, grade 12, I move to what we call the types of settlements. Forgive me, I ticked here. Let me just untick. Now, there are settlements that are found here, grade 12s. There are two. How many settlements do we have? There are two. Now, our main types of settlements now will be the rural settlement and the what? And the urban settlement there, grade 12. So our rural settlement, grade 12, is what? A rural settlement, it is a type of settlement that is single functional. Another name for single functional, what can we say there, grade 12? We have learned this, it is unifunctional. So it's going to be unifunctional. Let me put my weight there. It's unifunctional. So another name for unifunctional, it is single functional. So it means the same thing there, grade 12. Now, look at this. So a rural area, I believe all of us here, we are able to differentiate by looking at the picture, a difference between what? A difference between a rural area and an urban area. So we are able to differentiate between a rural area and an urban area, grade 12. Now, When you are looking at the picture, you'll see the difference. Let's look at these two pictures. I will name the rural area A and I'll name the urban area B. Now, grade 12, my rural area as it is A. Now, what are the difference between here? I can see this side there are no buildings, but this side there are tall buildings and nice lookable buildings. So I can see the difference, I can spot the difference between the two. Now, we said a rural settlement it is single functional. That means it is involved in one type of economic activity, which is the primary activities. Now, it takes us to our economic geography, grade 12. Remember the types, our economic geography. Remember, we talk of primary, secondary, and the tertiary. And then we talk about our urban settlement. It is multifunctional, simple meaning that now there are many function or economic activities taking place there. It means that it is secondary, and our secondary sector or secondary activities, they deal with manufacturing. So here in the cities, that's where we get industries that manufacture. And then we talk of tertiary, and the last one that is not included there, grade 12, will be what? Will be the quaternary. The quaternary sector is not included there. It must be included there. I didn't include it there. It's a must that we must have our quaternary sector, because it is also found where? It is also found at the urban settlements. Now, once I know how to differentiate between my settlement and rural and my urban settlement, grade 12, I move to number two. I have to know how to classify my settlements in terms of sizes. Which one is the bigger? Which one is the smaller? This one can come as a short objective questions, grade 12. They can ask you, give you a picture and say, this type of a settlement is an example of a city, or as they say, a city is an example of this type of settlement. You must know that the city falls in an urban settlement. Now, when we look at the difference in sizes there in the rural areas, you can see we have a hamlet, grade 12, and a village there. Then we have our village there. So you can see, grade 12, we've got different sizes of settlements. Now, let's look at the difference between the rural and urban settlements. I hope you can hear me now.